Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz, Shauketaly.
And a very good morning to you. This is Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And on this wonderful morning, we are going to be discussing matters that have been causing contentious concern right throughout the country. And to do this, none better than my colleague and the host of Commentator, the program that runs in Sinhalese from 6 o'clock to 6:30 every weekday, is none other than Bandula Jayasekara. Good morning to you.
Morning,
Bandula.
Faraz. So we can question each other today.
Of course. This is.
And we can question the viewers.
We can question the viewers as well, indeed. I've very quickly written down 13 matters that I can remember, and I can't remember too far back as well. But I've written down 13 items of contention of this country's politicians, this national unity government, right? But Bandula, the first thing is this, the Daily Mirror headline. Well, second headline then. Mahendran visited debt department during the bond auction. So says the central bank's additional director. Now then, Bandula, if you remember, this is the one point that Arjuna Mahendran hotly disputed right from the beginning. But now, in evidence before the Presidential Commission inquiry, it is now emerged that in fact he did visit it. And apparently the first time ever that the governor of the central bank had visited such a sensitive place. What do you have to say, apart from lies, lies and damn lies?
Faraz, even another country, now you and I know, I'm sure our viewers know that he's holding an advisory position. In another country, this morning, Mahendran would have resigned from that position, advisory position.
Indeed.
He would have resigned, issued a statement, I'm sorry or whatever. But here
and
it doesn't happen.
Yes, that's on his part. But what about the minister in charge, the subject of the central bank, who happens also to be the Prime Minister, and his name is Ranil Wickremesinghe.
He should have to resign over and over, but it doesn't happen in this country.
But don't you think he should have given a statement and said that Mr. Mahendran has been removed forthwith from all roles, paid or unpaid?
It will never happen here, Faraz. This is the problem. This is what we have to change. It will never happen.
Why is that? Why is this sort of, you talk to people and they're concerned about the bond and all these other things that we'll tell you about in a minute. But finally, when, push comes to shove, they'll say, oh yes, well, he didn't know, he was misled, he's sorry. But in this case, we don't even have a sorry.
But this is the thing, I think this country, our people should set aside differences. We should set aside this party politics. Yeah. They truly care for the masses. Yeah. They should do this. They should resign. They must learn to say sorry, which we don't say that because nobody is perfect. You're not perfect, I'm not perfect.
Absolutely.
It doesn't happen. So till we do that, this country will not develop.
We must learn to say sorry.
It's no harm saying sorry.
That's right. That's right. We're not talking about changing governments here. What we are talking about is to hold those people responsible and accountable and to be true to what they promised us.
And also for us, the small man is harassed. He's put behind bars. Yeah. He's like intimidated. But this is big time.
Indeed, indeed.
So this is where, the change should come from there.
And the change also should be, don't you think that it should be, Asoka Abegunawardene from Transparency International sent me, or somebody from that organization sent me a letter. It was from the Prime Minister's office saying that they could not be given information about the assets and declarations under that act. Why? I mean, in other countries it's online. If you want to see Theresa May's return, you can do that now.
But with respect to the politicians, Faraz, I read in the newspapers, plus, I'm sure you are aware of it. So, how they had counted Asoka Ubesekara, what happened was they have said, look, put your house in order. Right. There are issues at Transparency International. People are questioning how can How transparent are they?
Yes.
So without they being transparent, they can't ask the politicians. Yeah, so there is an issue there.
Indeed.
Right now we have had discussions in this. So that's what is. Everybody has to question you. I have to see that I am clear in this.
Yeah.
That's where that issue is.
I see, yes, that does make sense. But now then, Bandula, shall we just go through this? Sorry. This is just made up just moments before the program started. So it's handwritten. All right? Number one, the bond. The Mahendran lies. And we have a Presidential Commission of Inquiry. All very good. But actually, it's all about Mr. Mahendran and how he broke the rules or didn't adhere to them.
Yeah, but
then there's this, what have you found?
No, so then there is this Gazette notification on bond issues. PM calls for details from 1999. So this is
the problem. They're always going back, and actually, I'm writing a little editorial on this. It is a conspiracy to withhold the truth. And in Sri Lanka, Bandula, our politicians have a unique way of dealing with the truth. They hide it, they shove it under the carpet, they completely deny it, then they say that it can't be, or they bring up some obscure law under which it says, oh, you can't have that. But in essence, what they're doing with the truth is always ensuring that it stays kept somewhere.
Faraz, what about this? I remember you used to send letters, write letters and emails. Have you stopped writing them?
No, I have sent a letter to the Elections Commissioner. I must say that I got a telephone call the very next day. We sent it by fax, by the way. The Elections Commissioner said, please don't send it by email because his email petti pirila. Right? So, okay. Right. Anyway, so I sent it by fax at his behest.
Yeah.
And one of his deputies did call me and promised, when I asked him, how long will you take to reply? He said, well, under the right to information, I've got 14 days. So I'll write to you in due course.
But you're talking right to information. But I saw a cartoon recently. There's right to information. But do they have enough budgets? Do they have enough funds?
Well, there's very little money apparently. Apparently Ravi K, the Minister of Finance, hasn't sent them enough money.
Why is that? He doesn't want people to.
Well, it's a bit like the Auditor General's Department. Nobody's very happy with them. So, God help those fellows there in their quest to keep us informed. Then, of course, in March 2015, there was the letter under the signature of the Prime Minister telling all ministers who would have been rather new in the job that as a matter of policy, unsolicited bids must not be accepted.
And also to add to that, remember MP Hirunika Premachandra told us that the Prime Minister wanted the new MPs always to visit the library.
That's right, to visit the library.
This is in addition to this.
Yes, it wasn't to read the COPE report, obviously. Now, he sends this letter, which seems all very good. No unsolicited bids, it must come through a tender process, a transparent process, which is in place. Not 3 weeks after that, they award the contract for the outer circular highway, ignoring the Prime Minister's letter. And so the Minister of Highways goes ahead and does it. The problem, Bandula, is that when they did that, it was to the same company that they said was 90% corruption, 10% work. So they award the contract back to the same company, no transparent tender there. And it goes on, the Central Expressway, the release of the Prados from the customs with the fines being waived off whilst an inquiry was going on. No progress has been made on the under-declaration of the willful under-declaration of vehicles like Land Rovers and so on. We were told that the FCID were looking into it, but nothing, no progress. Then there were the duty-free waivers to the politicians. Then there's the water projects. The market is aghast. They say that the contractors at the water board are being asked for commissions from a senior official of the party of the minister, and who's got no relevance. this senior person is supposed to be in the East and has no relevance to the water board. Now, we had the minister on about a year ago or more, if you remember, and he denied all these things, but the stories still abound. And then it goes on. Sri Lankan Airlines is Kabir Hashim. He say Cabinet approved a settlement of between $75 and $85 million. Last week he was objecting because Mr. Ravi Cade, Minister of Finance, is proposing to pay $154 million. But Cabinet's only approved 85 max. So, you know, the list goes on and on.
What's happening to that difference?
What's happening to the difference?
Yeah.
Why is there such a big difference? It's almost double. If you took it at the lower figure, 75 million, it's double. Why is it double? And why is the Minister of Finance, he should only pay, because we have a subject minister who has obviously looked into this, hopefully. We don't know. But, you know, young Kabir is an economist. He's not young anymore now. Then, of course, you have the ICTA matter. Falling balloons and all sorts of things. And now it emerges that the president only ever agreed to this person to be a director. And he ends up as CEO.
But for us, what is happening? Okay, all these are there, but nothing is happening. They just listen, they ignore. What should we do?
And the call, the matter of the call. Maitri Gunaratna, you might want to ask him when he's on your program.
Next week, yes.
Next week on Wednesday at 6 a.m. You might want to ask him, Bandula, about the call. He highlights a fraud and then he's given the old
but my question for us is this. Okay, in other countries, people put pressure. We, the media, are bringing this out.
Yeah.
But why are the general masses silent? Most of the people are silent. Remember when we went for a certain function,
right.
People are questioning us, and you told them, why don't you stand up, why don't you question? Why aren't they questioning?
Exactly, exactly. I mean, a newspaper can only do so much. The Daily Mirror costs 30 rupees, I suppose the others do as well, that sort of price. But you can't expect the paper to do everything.
Yeah, like what we do. And also, let's not forget, remember you mentioned about this lady, Mrs. Seneviratne.
Absolutely.
Right, who was transferred to the information department.
Well remembered.
Well,
now,
and then,
you know,
in fact, yesterday or day before, the Island editorial had pressed them and the government printer.
Honestly,
I think we should bring this out.
We should bring it up, and we should perhaps start a public petition we should start giving them our own awards. If they're not going to be given these national awards like Deshmani and all that sort of thing, we should start our own awards. And we should also, Bandula, I don't know whether you would agree to this, shall we start a special award?
Yes, we should.
The B and F
yes.
awards to all sorts of people. To the people who tell the lies the most, and the people who are the most inventive lies, and the people who are just confused lies.
Continuous lies.
Continuous
like
lies.
This, I didn't visit the debt department.
That's right. I didn't visit the debt department. Yeah. He said it on so many occasions that it's almost, what do they call it in Sinhalese? Katapana.
Katapana.
It's amazing.
He must be having a long nose now,
He's
right?
got to have. My cousin would say, liar, liar, pants on fire. But that is what has happened here. We have got a senior official who's obviously been telling us porky pies.
Yeah, but why can't people put pressure for us?
They should.
Yeah,
I mean,
your viewers, they don't. Do they go to the streets to protest? No, they don't.
Well, nowadays, they don't have to do this. They can get on their phones and send an email.
They can
very
tweet.
Easy.
They can use
tweet,
Facebook.
They can do Facebook. Talk about it, because then something will happen. You don't have to stand in the middle of the road and block everybody else.
No, I don't think you can do that, because what's happened to Google Loon? So they can't even send these.
Well, that's all
crashed.
It's all crashed. It was controlled landing. It was so well controlled that they didn't know where it landed, and they waited until the villagers phoned them and said, "Oh, hang on, what's this?"
Also, for us, if not for the media, if not for people like you, you started, then I followed the bond issue, people would have forgotten.
Well, what was sad is at a recent launch of a book, the speaker after speaker didn't acknowledge the role of the media, and it was left to the author of the book, who was the last speaker, to actually acknowledge. But I was also sad that people of the caliber and commitment of, say, Mrs. Seniviratnam at the Public Debt Department, they need to be applauded, they need to be recognized. We need to recognize them nationally. Mr. Govindasri, the lawyer, said that, look, you can't maybe do it now because there's an investigation going on. But frankly, Bandula, this bond matter is going from pillar to post to pillar to post.
But we should recognize that Mrs. Seniviratnam.
We ought to.
I hope she can come on the program.
I hope so too. But for her troubles in trying to save and to stop Mr. Mahendran from his solo misadventure, she was transferred out. And in an almost sort of perverse act of humor, she was sent to the information department. She's accused of giving this information out. So what better place to put her in the information department?
But how come, I'm sorry to say now, what about, you have these clubs, Lions Club, Rotary, JC, you have all these associations.
Yes. What do they
Why
do?
can't they even invite somebody like her to speak and recognize her? Why can't Transparency International give her a special award? Why can't they do that?
They ought to. Because there's plenty of evidence to establish her role. She just flatly refused. When Mahendran wanted her to do the 20 billion, she said no, that won't do in this country. All right, then take 10. And now he says, the footnote people say that when he said all right, then take 10, he was he wasn't giving an order, but it was Mrs. Seniviratnam who decided to take 10. No, when the governor of the central bank tells you, and you are working several rungs below him, when he says, well, take 10, that sounds like an order to me.
Faraz, now you're following this commission very, closely.
Yeah.
You think Mrs. Seniviratnam will give evidence? She will be
I
called?
hope she does, because she will be one dazzling witness. Because, as Diogo Gunasekar, the former chairman of COPE, said, she wrote it down. This was not some footnote added 2 years down the line. At the time, she wrote it down. We must commend these people. And, the central bank's additional director has said that he's confirmed what everybody long suspected but had no proof.
These are good public servants
These
coming
are good
out and speaking
public servants who are professional, who've spent years in the job, and who feel slighted that they are made out to be some sort of conspirator club, that they're members of some conspiratory club. There's one thing for sure: they're not members of any flowery club. That's for sure. Because if they were, their lives would be infinitely easier right now. So it was sad when you see these people, when they're talking, during the bond debate, for example, where was the mention of the role of the central bankers? They came there. So if Mahendran had continued, those people would have been in deep trouble. They may have gone to the central bank, transferred to the central bank branch, newly created in Kites or in Delft. Something would have been created for them. So, very sad, but you're right. As President Obama said in his sort of going away speech, that the Constitution is just a piece of paper, and the people, through their actions, will give it life. And that's what it's the same in our country. The people have all the right. But I feel that better than protesting in the middle of the road at Lipton Circus and causing traffic chaos, it would be better if they sent a simple email. All right? Do the old-fashioned thing.
Like in other countries, they go and pressurize their members of parliament.
That's right.
They go and speak to them, which we don't do it enough in this country.
We don't. And I think these parliamentarians, at least they have that, the public day, don't they, on once a week.
Yeah, but there what happens, okay, they'll say, give me a job, do this transfer. That's not what is enough. If you're civic-minded, you should go and put pressure, apply pressure, because like this, the bond issue, it's like from your money and my money, EPF.
Well, one person said to me, it's boring. Well, if you don't mind being robbed for so much of money, then it's boring. But it's a serious matter. If you consider, Bandula, how many houses could be built, how many RO plants could be put in, how much of difference that money would have made to the people that we've discovered through the government, the movement. Imagine if we had that money to be able to help the people.
Now take, for instance, Faraz in Tabbo, the fishermen, they have become laborers today. People don't care.
Exactly.
What they were telling us is that, why don't the MPs come and visit us? They can't visit them.
Well, it was like that place we went to in Kalawan
Chikudi.
If you notice, there weren't very many young people there, young males. In fact, there's hardly any males. And when I asked, I remember asking the same question, where are the males? And they said, they've gone to work. Where? They were all in sort of Bandula and Polonnaruwa. Doing what? They're building the road. So, you see, that's what it is. They're not farming, they can't farm. They had all sorts of problems, as we discovered when we went there.
And I'm sure our viewers will be surprised to hear that some people said after DS Senanayak, people haven't visited, they haven't done much after DS Senanayak.
That's right, they said that there. So, they're still, whilst we are stuck in traffic and all that sort of thing in the urban wonderland of Sri Lanka, we mustn't forget that there is this group of people, and it's not just a small group, it's nationwide, and they all appear to have been forgotten by the very people who've elected these people to get...
But Faraz, if they steal a coconut, they'll be put behind bars, sometimes they'll be harassed. But here you are talking of billions, the bond issue. Exactly. What happens there? They, enjoy the best of life.
And, we had all sorts of problems here. The government is wondering why, or probably wondering why, we have so many incidences of contaminated water, let's say. First they said at Pratapasana that it was some company, one factory. But there are several factories around. But later it transpires that this water basin extends all the way up to Katunayaka and Negombo. And so, with the number of hotels and businesses using it, and without proper disposal of water, it comes as no surprise that the water basin has been contaminated. It's the same in Jaffna. In Jaffna, they say that parts of it, the water basin is contaminated. Well, after the end of the war, there are so many businesses there. Look at the number of petrol and service stations. And I noticed that the oil and the waste is just being dumped.
Faraz, I need to address, I'm sure some of our viewers must be owning houses. Now, we did a program for us, for the singular program, from Dieta Uyana in Kotte to the Valley Park in Navala. They have started a boat service. So the Land Reclamation Board, they invited us and we did this program. And those big houses, some of those big houses. Not all, most of them, everything was coming to Devanna. You talk of waste. There is no proper system. These are nice big houses facing the Parliament Road. You should do that for us and you'll see what's happening.
Really, very...
So all Devanna is polluted. And there are beautiful birds, butterflies, eagles. It'll all affect. You should do that, and we'll challenge some of our viewers. If you own a house, you should go and see that. We have a responsibility to keep those places clean. The ministries also should help these residents.
So maybe sometimes, Bandula, this is not an excuse, but sometimes perhaps the owners are unaware that their domestics are doing this. It's a lousy excuse. It's a lousy excuse. Because you should be in control. of what's happening.
It's your house.
It's your house. So there you are. But do you think, though, we've got all sorts of messages coming through, which I've sort of been ignoring.
Anybody suggesting for awards or?
Right, well, look, let's read this one. It's a bit involved, but it's about the bond. Yesterday's evidence given by the Treasury Department official confirmed the presence of the governor in the auction room. He also said the reason given by governor was that money is needed for highways projects. When the commission questioned whether this was so, the reply from the officer was negative. It is shameful that the evidence given in this commission cannot be used as evidence in a court of law. Now, this is obviously somebody who's been following these events.
Then why have the commission then?
Well,
if you can't use it.
Well, this is it, because it says that's part of the terms. This
is the joke on us?
Well, I think the joke is on the people at the end of the day. And I wonder, people who've come forward and at some risk to themselves. The list, if you imagine the last 2 years, just these programs, the number of people who've come here and who've spoken. Some of them have come here, spoken about it, and then mysteriously been given jobs in government, in officialdom, and then they don't talk about it anymore.
Some of them got letters, received letters.
That's right. And of course we,
yes,
especially the two of us and our network, we also got some thanks. We all got letters of demand. Not that it bothered us.
I thought letter writing is a thing of the past, but still people write letters.
Oh, they write letters, and as Govindastri said in one of his articles, the thanks we have had have manifested itself in the shape of letters of demand.
And I also must add to this now, like in other countries, the media keeps on putting pressure. In Sri Lanka, after 2-3 months, people forget. We cannot forget.
And
we should keep the pressure.
We should keep it on. And at Newsfirst, seriously, that won't happen because we have a publisher who is committed to media freedom and the freedom of speech and so on.
Faraz, I want to ask you a question on this bond issue. They have a presidential commission. Are you going to give evidence? Are you going there?
I don't know if I have any contribution apart from pointing out that I believe...
I remember you carrying files.
Yes, but
files.
At the end of the day, we always said that there was a conflict of interest. And that is exactly what this is. You see, this commission, I don't see why they have to go to all this. Because the crux of the problem is that Mr. Mahendran, as the governor, acted on what he says. He says that the Prime Minister asked him to do this, to change the way. Well, that's fine.
It's on record.
It's on record. So what you ought to then have done is gone to the Monetary Board, discussed it and taken a decision and then implemented that decision. The governor acted ultra vires, out of order, above his station as governor by acting on the instructions of his minister. That's not what the Monetary Law Act says. And everything else follows up. I met the former Chief Justice and he quite agreed. He says that if the beginning is flawed, nothing that follows can put that right. It's flawed. That's it. So why go through all this rigmarole when Governor Mahendran has made the fundamental mistake?
So are these delaying tactics?
They are delaying tactics.
Even this commission?
Even this commission. And it looks like, Bandula, for several months more, you and I and the island and all the
Daily
other
Mirror,
Daily Mirror, all these people, all journalists will have plenty of meat to write and report on, because this is obviously another tactic. It's frustratingly so.
In another country, even for allegation, they would resign or they go on temporary
Yeah,
leave.
he didn't resign.
Yeah.
The president had to refuse to give him another contract.
But why, are we being taken for a ride by all these politicians?
Now that's
I'm
a good
saying,
question to
whether
pose.
it be government, joint opposition, are we being taken for a ride? The people, the masses and the media.
That's a good question which we must perhaps get our viewers to write in contact us, send an SMS, email. Are we being taken for a ride? That's a good point. Bandula, do you know what? That's the end of half an hour. It's gone fast, isn't it? Time to have
Talk of the town.
Talk of the Town on Yes FM. On that note, thank you very much. And Bandula will be on his Pat Together program on Monday morning at 6 o'clock on Sirisa, and I'll be here on TV1. On that, in that case, it's time now to wish you a great weekend, a blessed Sunday.
Happy bonding.
And happy bonding. And on Monday, we will have the performance manager of Sri Lanka cricket, Mr. Willis, will be here to tell us all about that performance. Is he coming on your program? On
we are continuing the bond issue with Rusri Palatenakon. He's written a book, so we will discuss the bond issue.
Right,
for the
so
benefit
happy bonding.
Happy bonding.
Indeed. And that's it then. It's only time to say, have a great weekend. Take care and God bless.